Well, hey, everybody. I'm hoping that we go off without a hitch today, but it's looking like we've got an issue with the chat, like we had yesterday with Ted's doing the stream. Somehow, it seems our streaming platform that we use to get the same stream going to both Twitch and YouTube has kind of separated off. So I'm not sure if all of the chats will come through. It's looking like it's starting to now, but I'm also seeing a chat in the Twitch chat that didn't come through. So I don't know what's going on there. It looks like it's starting to try to work. So who knows? Hopefully it'll be fine, and you all can stay on whichever platform you prefer. And we'll go from there. But today we are finishing off the novelization of Mad Love. In 2018, Paul Dini rewrote the iconic Harley Quinn origin story with author Pat Cadigan on board. They added a bunch of extra stuff all over throughout the book. So it's basically the same story, but you've got all new scenes. Not Charlie. Who the hell is Charlie? Charlie Quinn and the Chocolate Factory. But you've got all these brand new scenes of Harley Quinn as a child, in her years in college, and even some more stuff like in her time in Arkham flashbacks. Like she was the group therapist for Poison Ivy and Magpie and Baby Doll and March Harriet and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't really work too well with established DCAU continuity, but that's fine. We didn't know that going in, and it's been a fun read either way. Last week we finished chapter 30, which is where the original comic and cartoon episode ends the story. But there are still 4 more chapters to this, so I don't know what to expect. Because of the fact that I haven't read this book before. We've been reading it together. If you've been here with me the past few months, you've been reading it with me. So who knows? Maybe some of the new stuff will come back around and we'll tie up some loose plot threads, like you know what her relationship is with Ivy and the girls or something. Who knows? But real quick, I'm gonna go ahead, go through the chat, just you know, hang out, say hey with all y'all. For a second, and then we'll hop right into the book. I'm seeing a lot of hellos from Mercy Guy and Cat Nag, Rodimus 2099. Got Pag Rec asking who's pumped for Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm personally not, but I do know James is really excited for it, and I think Ted is excited as well. I do think that it'll be something pretty to look at, but just as far as storytelling goes, Zack Snyder doesn't very often do it for me. So I'm kind of detached from his work on a getting pumped or stoked level. Jake wants Maddie Daddy to notice him. Hello, Jake. There you go. That one's for you. Some more hellos. Prag Rec, Brandon Fetters, Tito BG. Oh, well, it's nice to see your username, Nair J. Napier J. I'll get it down at one point. Napierge? I'll figure it out. Maybe with some help. Howdy back at you, Sean. Your mustache is good. It's good stash. Well, thank you. I did clean up and shave today, so you know you're getting it at its best. Hey, Maddie, how you doing? I'm doing excellent. I mean, other than the fact that like I've been getting very little sleep just because we've been having to deal with medical problems with one of our 2 cats. You know, so I'm a little sleepy boy, but I otherwise am doing all right. What about grad school? What about Grad School? It's been a solid book. Yes. Co-starring Mr. Wing is Winky Wonka. I'm in. Let's see. Reminds me of an upcoming novel I'm working on. It's about a futuristic amusement park where dinosaurs rule. Oh, that sounds fun. Have you seen the trailer for Suicide Squad on HBO Max? Are they redoing Suicide Squad for the HBO Max release? I've seen the movie Suicide Squad. Is this a different thing? Billy and the Clonosaurus. That's a good book name. How am I doing? I think I just explained that. What's going on? We're about to be reading Harley Quinn Mad Love. Can't wait for Harley Quinn season 3. Me either. I was really enjoying that show. I started working on a timeline for it, and we'll hopefully have that done by the time the show is about ready to come out. But we were wanting to like have that video all done and ready for like whenever they announce season 3, because we were pretty sure season 3 was going to be announced regardless of the fact that that it seemed kind of tentative. And then they announced it before we were ready. So now that's just one in the back pocket for whenever it gets closer to time for the show to start back up. Am I excited for the Batman The Long Halloween movie? Yeah, it seems like it's going to be fun. What is my favorite Batman movie? Return of the Joker. Well, I love you back, interview show. I didn't get your Simpsons. Yeah, I'm sorry. I did not watch Simpsons growing up. As I've explained on the channel a couple times, I was raised in an uber conservative, very restrictive household. And so a lot of things were off limits growing up. Simpsons was one of those things. They're talking about the new Suicide Squad movie by the James Gunn. Oh, they got is there a new trailer for that? Huh. Almost done playing Arkham Knight. Hell yeah, that was a fun game. I didn't like the Batmobile stuff in it, but you know, it is what it is. Let's see. San Diego Comic-Con is about to release it along with the WB's new release of Gotham Knights. Interesting. What are my thoughts on HBO reviving BTAS? You know, I don't want to get too much into it just because we're working on a video on that exact subject, but I will say that I'm hesitant. I'll leave it at that. But we're working on a video on that subject right now. And there's also, I did a podcast recently with DCAU Review and Tim Talk as a little roundtable situation to discuss it. That should be out soon. I'm not quite sure what their release schedule is, but you know, you will see that in the Watchtower database feeds pretty shortly. What I meant was you were saying that it's showing Harley through different stages of her life, but you didn't mention grad school. I was asking if any. Well, did I not mention college? I don't know if they specifically went to grad school with her, but they did go to college. So you know, if you want to lump those together as the same thing, then yes. But if you don't want to lump them together, then I don't remember the details. Too much. Maddie, are the Batman The Adventures Continues comics canon to the DCAU? I know that's a James thing, but I want your thoughts and opinions. Did you like BTEC? So it's not just a James thing. We all of those videos we worked on together. We all three of us stayed up late every night that a new issue was dropping and would discuss it for hours on end. To get all of those Easter eggs and continuity nods and continuity errors and stuff like that. James just happened to be the one who was hosting those videos, just because it made it a lot easier to have him the footage on time since he's our only editor. And so, you know, while it's his voice on it, the opinion basically speaks for all of us. I will say that we all have slightly different ways of looking at it, but I think all three of us kind of come down to the fact that, like, it doesn't matter if it's canon or not. Ted wants to treat it in broad strokes as like a kind of like how they did in a recent Batman story where like he had books on his wall chronicling every adventure ever that's happened, and he talks about, I don't know how they all happened, but they did. I think James is a little bit more hardlined on it, but like wanting to throw it out the window altogether. And I kind of sit somewhere in between the two of them. Like, I would like to be able to tweak things to make everything fit, but I don't think that it works. And it's just like small dumb stuff that makes it not work. Like the mention of like Baby Doll's age, or the nod at Deathstroke possibly being on Task Force X, like during a year after TNBA times, when he explicitly shows up later. Like, it's all just very small things that if those weren't there, I would have no issue calling it canon or whatever. But they are there. So in my head, it's kind of like a something like this could have happened, but maybe not exactly as it's on paper. But that's my thoughts. I'm gonna read a couple more of these, and then we're gonna hop into the first chapter of today. What do you think of the Justice Society trailer? I really enjoyed it. It was a fun time. Why am I so small? I don't know. Why am I so small? I don't want to like overshadow the logo. What if I big? What if I big? Let's see, how big can I get? There we go. That's bigger. That's bigger. But yeah, I'm really interested in the Justice Society stuff. That looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Will my blonde hair ever return? Maybe. Right now, I'm kind of really enjoying the long hair thing, and I don't think that it would look good blonde. If I do go back to the short hair, which I'm probably going to have to, on account of Watchtower Database story lore being consistent whenever we pick that back up, then I will probably re-bleach it. But for the time being, with the long hair, it's not gonna happen. Jake's still here. Let's see, excited for a possible live-action Batman Beyond movie? That would be cool. Do you think Man of Tomorrow is connected to Justice Society? It might be. I'm really not sure. But it's possible. I'm not too concerned about connected continuity in those movies, though, so much as I am just with them being good movies. And this is gonna be the last one I'm gonna read before hopping into the book. I've got a question, kind of like, could like more DCAU canon work if like their days are like longer than our standard days, or is that something too long to talk about? I'm trying to make sense of the question. What I am understanding it to be is that it's possible that that DCAU time works differently from normal time. And I've definitely had that assumption before, especially with like just based off of stuff from like the way that Zeta Project dates things. Some episodes of Batman Beyond, where he is, currently in high school classes, would be taking place like on the weekend during summer or something along those lines. And so, it's possible that time is a little bit more little bit more loopy than what we recognize it as in the real world. But I don't think the length of the day has ever really been a factor of what we consider in part of the canon or not canon. More so, it's just like, if we have a story that says X character was here, and then a story that says, and then X character was here, and there was nothing between those two things, because Batman said, I met you here, and Batman said, the last time I saw you, that thing happened over here. And then there's a comic in here that's just like, but this did happen. Like, you know, we can't count that. And that's more of my way of looking at it, rather than going from a how long are the days thing. Oh shoot, we did chapter 30 last week, and I am on that. Let me flip over to the actual monitor deck. Here we go. I'm scrolling down to the chapter that we're doing today. I'm almost there. Well, chapters we're doing today, but we're starting with chapter 31. If you haven't been here with us before, typically whenever we get to page breaks, like this here, we'll flip over to this this fancy little spreadsheet that I had loaded and now is saying it doesn't want to be loaded. Oh no, what is it doing? Gotta love when the computer decides it's gonna go its own way, like it's a big old Fleetwood Mac stand or something. But essentially, we come over here to this spreadsheet to take notes on like appearances of characters or places or whatever, timeline stuff, canonicity stuff, all that kind of stuff, so that we have it for future Watchtower database videos and the website that will hopefully be coming at some point in the future, 50 years from now, whenever now is. Of course, it looks like there's a lot of page breaks, and these are small chapters, so we might not go every page break. But it's we'll just don't be surprised if I jump over. And I just lost chapter 31. Where is it? That's chapter 30. Okay. So here's chapter 31. And I've got the book right here with me, but I found it a lot easier last time to read along with you all off of the screen. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna zoom in so it's easier for you all to see and read along with me. And we're just gonna do it. We're just gonna do it this way, just for the sake of easiness. And if you're uneasy with me just directly looking at you the whole time, then maybe I'll try to make you a little bit more uncomfortable by leaning in. But no, well, it'll be fine. I'm very small on the screen. We'll make it work. And of course, I'll be checking the chat throughout and everything. So if you've still got more questions and whatnot, or reactions to things that are being read, go ahead and drop that stuff in the chat, regardless, of the fact that I said I was cutting off what I was reading for the time being, because I will circle back around to it. Stop texting me. Who's texting me? My brother's always texting. No, stop blowing up my phone. Get out of here. Okay. As lovely as a kiss may be, the memory will eventually fade. That's just how life is. Good, bad, or indifferent, nothing lasts forever, and in the end, memories are the most ephemeral things of all. Although some memories do last a very long time, the memory of a 7-story fall, for example, will stay with a person a lot longer than the memory of a kiss. Or, for that matter, the memory of something that felt like a kiss. Healing from trauma is a long, complex process. 3 important parts of the process are remembering, forgetting, and knowing what goes in column A and what goes in column B. Another important part of healing is understanding the true meanings of things. For instance, take the word asylum. Many people associate the word with an institution for the mentally ill or others requiring special care. But asylum seekers are looking for a safe place, a refuge from privation, persecution, and fear, a haven, a sanctuary, a shelter. An asylum can be all these things, even Arkham Asylum, as Harley Quinn discovered during her time as a patient. Joan Leland insisted on treating Harley herself. Harley wasn't sure about that at first. Having a former boss ask her every day if she'd learned her lesson wasn't terribly appealing, but it turned out to be nothing like that at all. Harley asked Dr. Leland to take her off the heavy-duty pain meds right away, but the doctor refused. She would wean Harley off the medication when she felt the time was right. A few days after her arrival at Arkham was not the right time. She told Dr. Leland about treating the Joker with extra-strength ibuprofen. Dr. Leland had told her that a beating from Batman was a cakewalk next to a 7-story fall and suggested she try to think of it as falling out of love with the Joker. It wasn't a bad idea, but Harley knew nothing was that straightforward. Sometimes she woke up feeling self-possessed, strong, free of the Joker's influence, and sure she'd stay that way. The feeling might last for days, long enough that she would begin to think, very cautiously, about the future. But then she'd be ambushed by the certainty that her life was empty, and she'd spend the rest of it marking time until she died. She couldn't even turn to her memories for comfort because the happiest ones were of being in the Joker's sub basement cell, believing she was changing his life for the better with groundbreaking therapy. They shouldn't have been her happiest moments. They shouldn't have been her happiest moments because they were all just a great big fat lie. The Joker had not merely deceived her, he had manipulated her into deceiving herself. What a dirty trick. Having to admit that and accept why the Joker had done it was a knife in her heart, and yet the feelings that came with those memories were the joy she'd felt in her work, or falling in love, not anger at his betrayal, or even shame at being the Joker's perfect mark. How did a person recover from that? It helped to remind herself that although she had broken the Joker out of Arkham, he was nowhere to be found now that she was inside and he was free. The news services were saying he was probably dead, but Harley didn't believe it. It would take a lot more than falling off of a train to put an end to the Joker. But what would she do if a sudden explosion blew a hole in the wall and the Joker came striding in to take her away? Highly unlikely. But there was another scenario, not nearly as far-fetched. What if Batman recaptured him and brought him back to Arkham? They would put him back in isolation, of course. She wouldn't be allowed to see him, but he'd probably find some way to get a message to her. What would she do? Turn the message over to Dr. Leland? Or keep quiet? She hadn't turned over to Dr. Leland the message she'd found in her cell, which she supposed meant she hadn't learned her lesson. And if he didn't send a message, would she feel him anyway, down in the cell where she had fallen in love with him, like a twisted variation of The Princess and the Pea? Would just knowing he was in Arkham undo her? Her body continued to heal, and her mind became stronger even if her emotions were shaky. And eventually, Harley was able to talk to Dr. Leland about him. The Joker's narcissism had a profound connection to his obsession with Gotham City, Dr. Leland said. If he were still alive, he was there or close by. The Joker was convinced the city was rightfully his. If he could kill Batman in a sufficiently ostentatious and clever way, it would give him absolute power over Gotham and everyone in it. Delusional? Yes, Dr. Leland said with a good-natured frankness that made Harley feel better about everything. Stranger than Killer Croc or a flying bulletproof alien? Not so much. If the Joker were recaptured and sent back here, would you tell me? Harley asked immediately. Harley asked suddenly. I'm flubbing lines. Immediately, if not sooner, Dr. Leland said with a half smile. It would be no good trying to hide it. We could put that man in a cell at the center of the Earth, or on the dark side of the moon, or in orbit around Neptune, and inside of 2 minutes, the whole world would know it. And there's a page break, so that's a decent time to pop over and drop some notes in. We got a couple things, not a lot, but a few things to put in. Oh Jesus, why is it scrolling so quickly back and forth? Let's see. So we just got reference to Superman, right? With the bulletproof alien. So I'm gonna put him as a character appearance. Locations. Dr. Leland just mentioned Neptune, so we can pop that one in here. And then, excuse me, we had a pop culture reference to the princess and the pea. And I think that's really all of the notes so far. Let's see. I'm pretty sure the Flash started these DC Rebirth movies at the end of Apocalypse War, like Man of Tomorrow and Justice Society. It's it's possible that it's the same Flash. I would say it's kind of weird that they would have switched up the voice actor and the costume doesn't look exactly the same either. But I wouldn't call these Rebirth style movies. Because nothing I've seen so far out of Man of Tomorrow, really screams Rebirth to me at all. And the DC animated movie universe films beforehand weren't solely based on the New 52. So to say like, oh, they're ending the New 52 era and going into Rebirth is kind of weird to me because it's not just a New 52 world. There's tons of original stories. There's adaptations of New 52 stuff and classic stuff. They pulled from all over the place. So that one's just never sat right. Liking the mustache. Well, thank you, Man Without Mercy. Sounds like you have mercy on the mustache. There are 500 Maddies. Since when? Oh, hey, Andrew Cazzini's here with us. Hey, how's it going? We are partway through chapter 31 of Mad Love. We're after the events of the comic and the cartoon, and Harley's being kind of nursed back to health by Dr. Leland now. So it's going well. We're having a fun time. Months passed, and Harley continued to improve. Dr. Leland began to make noises about life after Arkham. Harley had known she wasn't serving a life sentence, but she didn't feel ready to think about getting out. It was still hard not to think of herself in terms of the Joker. Sometimes she wasn't sure she'd ever find her own separate identity again. I can still remember vividly what it was like to be... Harley hesitated, trying to find the right words. To be under his control and believing beyond all doubt it was true love. And you're already talking about releasing me back into the wild. Your attachment to the Joker was the root of your problem, Dr. Leland told her. You've broken that attachment, and I've done what I can to reinforce your sense of yourself as an individual. But for your recovery to be real, you have to be in the wild, as you put it. Pause. Plus, we need the room for someone with more severe problems. Doctor and patient laughed together. It made Harley feel good to hear how normal it sounded. A couple of friends sharing a laugh. But we aren't going to simply push you out the front gate and wish you luck, Dr. Leland went on. You'll go to a halfway house for 6 months. Then you'll be evaluated and they'll decide whether you should stay longer or if you're ready for life in the wild. What's the halfway house like? Harley wanted to know. I think you'll like it, Dr. Leland said. I chose it because all the women there have been in some kind of toxic relationship that turned their lives upside down. Not all of them were love relationships. Some were enmeshed with so-called friends, some were victimized by a parent, and a couple escaped from cults. But not the cult of Batman, Harley said silently. She had to press her lips together to keep herself from speaking aloud. She hadn't talked about Batman in therapy. Batman was unfinished business, but Dr. Leland didn't need to know that. She already knew Dr. Leland's feelings on the matter. You're not from around here. And Harley couldn't do anything about that. And although Dr. Leland might be prone to a little too much hero worship where Batman was concerned, she hadn't run off with him and committed a string of crimes, nor had Batman smacked her around or thrown her out of a 7th floor window. Some heroes had feet of clay. Others were clay all the way up to their necks. Dr. Leland was sanguine about Harley's chances of finding work, but said nothing about her getting her medical license back, and Harley knew better than to ask. All the women at the halfway house were employed, she told Harley. Harley wondered how many of them were working friolators? Friolators? I have never seen that word before in my life. Let's go on a vocab real quick. Going on vocab hunt. Friolators. Zup, Maddie of Watchtower Database fame. Not a lot. Lord of Realms of Watchtower Database live chat fame. Zup with you. Friolator? Hello, A driver. And some were clay all the way up to their face. True, but those were, is a kitchen appliance used for deep frying. Why wouldn't you just call that a deep fryer? I've operated these for years while I was working at McDonald's. And I had not once did I ever hear anyone call it a I don't know how to pronounce it. Friolator? I don't know. I'm not even gonna look for a pronunciation. We'll just go past it. We'll call it a deep fryer. Harley wondered how many of them were working deep fryers, washing cars, or cleaning places they'd never be allowed into otherwise. What kind of job opportunities were there for an ex-doctor with an Arkham diploma? Of course, if she wanted to make real money, she could become a mob doctor, someone who could take care of bullet wounds without calling the cops, and whose medical wasn't in veterinary medicine, was a real prize. She was just kidding, Harley told herself, a private joke, but she filed the idea away at the back of her mind in case Big Belly Burger couldn't get past the stigma of Arkham even just for drive-thru work. And that's the end of chapter 31. So we had a couple more things to add there, like that mention of the Big Belly Burger, and there were a couple mentions of time passing that we can throw in there. So locations. Why is my nose so itchy today? I feel like I've been doing a really good job of cleaning up the house, so there shouldn't be a lot of loose cat hair around. Then again, there's always loose cat hair around. So, you know, what's a lad to do? So we got Big Belly Burger mentioned, and I've actually got a comic somewhere where Harley had a job at Big Belly Burger in the DCAU. So I wonder if those things could tie together. Though I think that was part of a criminal spree. Let's see. We got months later, I believe was the exact quote. And I've been marking these timeline bits with the page number from the book, so I guess I should check that. Months past was the quote. Months page 262. And then we had Harley is going to a halfway house for supposedly 6 months. I'm putting supposedly in there just on the basis that it's, you know, she's Harley. Is she gonna stay there? Probably not, but who knows? They've really kind of tried to set her up as a more independent character in this book, despite it, you know, being the story of her and the Joker. So maybe we'll end it on her you know, being better. And that was also on page 262. All right, awesome. Let's see, what do y'all got going on? What's Darwin Cook art do you love the most? And be honest with us. You know, I don't know all of Darwin Cook's art, but I like almost all of it that I've seen. Geez, picking a favorite. You know, I would say, from what I understand, he was super instrumental in putting the intro of Batman Beyond together. So if I can pick, you know, a visual experience like that as a piece of art, as a single piece of art, then I'll say the Batman Beyond intro. Though I assume you're probably talking about like a single single sheet of paper artwork. But I'm gonna cheat here, and that's gonna be it because you told me to be honest with you. Let's see. Friolator, isn't that a Spawn character? It might. Is it? Is Friolator a Spawn character? Did they name a Spawn character after a Deep Fryer? Or is this a joke? Friolator Spawn. Is it? Is this guy named Friolator? Because he's the first thing that comes up and the only thing that comes up if I search Friolator Spawn. So I don't know. Maybe these deep fryers are made by Doofenshmirtz. If it was Doofenshmirtz, it'd be Friolinator. There'd be an IN in there somewhere. Big Belly Burger. I thought it was Beefy Burger. There's different burger joints. There's also Burgerful. I love that bit from Batman Beyond intro where you have old Bruce look at the back computer. Oh, pun on Violator. Okay, got it. That makes sense. That's okay. It's been so long since I've partook in anything Spawn that I just, the joke went over my head. Let's see. Okay, we are now gonna hop into chapter 32. At 7 a.m. on the morning of Harley's discharge from Arkham Asylum, Dr. Leland gave her a shoulder bag, a small suitcase with a change of clothing, a little cash, a bus ticket, and a printout with a map and directions to the halfway house. She waited with Harley at the stop across from the gates when the bus came. Dr. Leland hugged her, wished her the best, and pushed her up the steps. Harley had thought returning to Gotham City would stir up a lot of emotions. Instead, it was anticlimactic. Gotham wasn't a magical realm like Oz. It was just a city with people trying to get through every day as best they could. Harley found her way from the Gotham City Central Station to the nearest elevated train stop. The woman who sold her the day pass told her which train to take and what station to get off at. From there, it was a brief bus ride or a bit of a walk. Harley decided to walk. The months she had spent with casts on her arms and legs had left her weak and out of shape. Walking was a good way to get back into exercise, a good way to get the lie of the land, too. It was a nice residential neighborhood with a local train station and regular bus service. Not the sort of place where supervillains hung out. Harley saw toys in a lot of the front yards. That was nice, she supposed, but she was glad she'd grown up urban. She and her brothers hadn't needed a yard. All of Brooklyn had been their yard. They'd played hopscotch on the sidewalk and teeter-tottered in the local playground. They hadn't needed to make play dates. There were always kids around, and plenty of grown-ups too, especially in summer when everyone sat outside on their front stoops. She was still floating in a cloud of nostalgia when she came to the halfway house. It was a large, Victorian, a bit shabby but solid, with a wraparound front porch, a lawn that was more green than brown, and flowering plants lining the front walk. It looked very welcoming, but her stroll down memory lane had made her yearn to be back in the heart of the city, where traffic noise would wake her in the morning and lull her to sleep at night. Maybe in 6 months, if she played her cards right. Harley drew herself up tall and squared her shoulders the way she used to. I'm just having a real hard time reading today. I'm a big dummy, and I can't read. And my tongue is big, and it just gets in the way, and everything is ruined. Harley drew herself up tall and squared her shoulders. The way I tried to restart the sentence, and tripped all over myself again. The way she used to before a difficult floor routine, and strode up the front walk. She trotted up the 3 slightly saggy porch steps and planted herself at the front door. Perfect landing without a wobble. But before she could ring the bell, she heard an ear-splittingly loud "Awooga!" followed by a very familiar, raucous laughter. She turned around. The limo at the curb was a deep, metallic purple. She knew that shade. Then the passenger door swung open. His suit matched the limo. That lime green hair probably glowed in the dark. He gave her the smile that had always made her knees tremble and her heart pound. Even at that distance, she knew he was gazing into her eyes, like he'd spent the last several months dreaming of this moment. Now it was finally here. He had come to pick her up so they could go do something outrageous. When the Joker beckoned to her, Harley didn't hesitate. She dropped her suitcase, yelled, "Put in!" sprinted down the walk, and dived into the front seat. The door closed behind her, and the car pulled away from the curb. What happened next was preserved for posterity on YouTube. Alright, so a quick couple things for chapter 32. New locations. We've got the halfway house. And I guess as a timeline indicator, the halfway house is Victorian. And we got YouTube. But we've had YouTube mentioned already earlier. But I'm just gonna drop it in again as part of the non-canon stuff, just because like it doesn't make sense for YouTube to be around at that point in the DCAU. It's a little sus. Let's see. You should do a video about the characters just made up for films, television, cartoon, books, video games, and toys. That could be fun. Though, you know, for it to be a complete video, like we would have to end up going like into really minute things that no one cares about, like appearances of random pedestrians named Jill Simonson or whatever. But I guess doing the major characters could be fun. I can't believe you, Maddie. HBO Max unveiled a lot of new movies coming to their slot. Mortal Kombat, Suicide Squad, Godzilla vs. Kong. You've got to watch your trailer. I'll try to catch up on all that stuff, but I don't know. Godzilla vs. Kong doesn't really interest me. Mortal Kombat maybe. Yo, what's up? We're just going through the finale of the Mad Love novelization. That's what's up. We are in the middle of chapter 32. We're like months past the end of Mad Love as we see it in the comic and cartoon, and we're in all new territory. They can't have floor models and YouTube. They don't match. Then again, 50 years later, they do have flying cars. Yeah, everything's all over the place as far as tech and such goes. 16-year-old Betty Lemansky, who lived across the street and 3 doors down from the halfway house, saw the purple limo pull over and went outside with her cell phone. She was hoping to capture a candid video of an eccentric billionaire or celebrity. She hadn't been expecting a supervillain until she heard the laughter. Betty didn't get a very good shot of the young blonde woman getting into the car, but she hoped the driver's window would be down as it went past. It wasn't, but the car suddenly screeched to a stop right in front of her. The driver's side door flew open and the Joker, the actual Joker, tumbled out onto the street. Ass over tea kettle. I almost died. Betty watched flabbergasted as he scrambled up onto his knees and said, "But Cupcake, Daddy's lost without you." The woman behind the wheel laughed at him. "I'm not your Cupcake," she shouted, slammed the car door, and drove away. The Joker got up and ran after her, still protesting his love. Betty Lemansky's footage ends as the Joker starts to give up the chase. At that point, Betty decided to go back inside, triple lock the front door, and call the cops. By the time they arrived, however, the Joker was nowhere to be found. Police canvassed door to door in a 5-block radius, but the Joker had somehow slipped away unnoticed. No mean feat for a tall, skinny man in a purple suit with green hair and a permanent evil grin. The purple limo was eventually found at the bottom of the river by police working a different case. It was thought to be unrelated, but in Gotham, you just couldn't be sure of anything. Is that, I guess that's the end of chapter 32. All right, what was that girl's name? It was like Betty Lemansky. So we'll pop her in as a new character. Betty Lemansky. Am I spelling it right? Lemansky. Oh, L-E, not L-A. Betty Lemansky. Lemon Sky. However you would like to pronounce it. That's the word I'm looking for. Pronunciation. Betty Lemansky is 16 years old. There we go. There's our timeline clues. So this is a bit random, but does anyone else really like Lockup and the episode of the same name? Lockup is one of my favorite episodes of Batman the Animated Series, and I feel like I've recently come across information that makes me think that that's kind of a contested subject in the fan base, but I do not know like how in this day and age of how aware we are of the corruption of like law enforcement systems and the like, and the impact that like very deep right-wing media has on the psyche of people like that. Like I don't see how people can dislike that episode unless they feel like the episode is talking about them. And then in that case, it's just like, okay, I get it, but you're wrong. But it's such a good episode, and it brings up it brings up a lot of questions. Like, how was he working for GCPD for so long and nothing was ever done about it, to the point where Bruce Wayne was comfortable with giving him a recommendation to the board at Arkham? Like, makes you think that maybe there's a lot of fishy stuff going on in GCPD. And like, that's probably an obvious thing, since, like, you know, usually it's said like GCPD is corrupt and Gordon's just above it all or whatever. But like, almost every cop that we see in BTAS is definitely portrayed to be a good guy, with like the one exception being like that one episode where it seemed like Harvey Bullock might have been a bad guy, but come to find out he wasn't a bad guy at all. So like, you know, it doesn't really matter. So like, I don't feel like the corruption angle really shines through in Batman the Animated Series until you get to Lockup and you have to think deeper about it. Let's see. Andrew, I actually haven't seen this episode in maybe a decade. I might have to look it up now. It's just a wonderful episode, and it's beautifully animated. Like, the just how on model that whole episode is just mwah. It's kind of ridiculous because there's definitely a couple episodes around it that are just look really bad, and then once you get to Lockup, like, it's all perfectly angular and on model and beautiful. Is the permanent evil grin thing a continuity issue in that DCAU Joker can frown, unlike, say, 89 Joker, who does have a permanent smile? I feel like it's I feel like them saying permanent evil grin is more of an embellishment than anything. I get that, like, there are some versions of the Joker that, like, their face is permanently stuck like that, and so we could probably take it as literal, but I think that was more of a painting a picture in the reader's mind situation, more so than a continuity issue. There are good cops like Jim Gordon, Harvey Bullock, Renee. Yeah, I mean, that's what I was. Are you talking about, like, in the real world? Like, there are definitely people who think that that they are doing good work by being police, and you know, I would say that there is good work that is done by police, but it's just systemically speaking, there's issues with the system of policing. So regardless of how good of a cop you are, if you are doing things by the book, you'll still end up doing stuff that's wrong. And, like, that's life in general, right? Like, we all have our days where we're shitty. It's just we don't have a badge and a gun while we're doing it, if that makes sense. My guess is it has to be a lot of things going on in GCPD, if only for the amount of breakouts. True. I always really liked it. I wish Lockup appeared more in the show itself. He did make it into some Chuck Dixon era comics. Yeah, I definitely wish that he got more time in the show. He does show up in a couple of the tie-in comics, but, like, not in a big spotlight by any means. More so as a background character. Do you only do DCAU related, or do you make videos about Tim versus CW versus etc.? The majority of the stuff on the channel is the Bruce Timm DCAU stuff, but we do shy away every now and then if we find a topic that we're interested in. I know, like, I did the DC animated movie universe timeline videos. And we did a timeline video for, like, the first season of Titans and why am I blanking on the name Doom Patrol right now? And you know, we've done reviews for the DC animated movies as they come out, but the main focus is the DCAU. We've talked about possibly veering off and doing more of the other stuff at some point, but the DCAU is the main love of all three of us. So you know, it's kind of what we know, kind of what we stick to. It's always been kind of funny to me that Chuck Dixon, of all people, adapted Lockup into comics, considering how conservative the guy is. I don't know anything about Chuck Dixon's politics. I recognize the name, and I don't know if I've actually read anything of his. I may have had since I recognize the name, but yeah, I don't know much about his politics. If he is a conservative guy, then that is pretty funny. But anyway, into chapter 33, because we're already hitting the hour mark. And usually these only go for an hour. But it's fine. I'm down to hang out with you guys longer. 6 months later, when Dr. Irene Smith, MD, joined the Midtown Manhattan branch of New York health practitioners, she didn't have the thickest sheaf of glowing letters of recommendation. But those she did have were impressive, and from some of the most respected professionals in the field of medicine. Dr. Smith herself was quiet, soft-spoken, and demure, but very self-possessed. She didn't suffer from a lack of confidence, but she wasn't from the if you've got it, flaunt it school of demeanor, which probably accounted for her rather surprising patient list. Some were VIPs, some had a whiff of notoriety about them, and some were actually a little scary. But obviously, they all trusted Dr. Smith, who seemed above reproach. Dr. Smith had come to Manhattan from Gotham City, which surprised her colleagues until she explained she was from Brooklyn, and she was actually coming back to her hometown, if not her home borough. That made more sense. Everyone knew Gotham City was one of those places unto itself. People from out of town seldom felt completely at home there, while people from Gotham were never at home anywhere else. They might travel far and wide, but they always went back, no matter how long they'd been away. It was just something about the place. Why else would a billionaire like Bruce Wayne live there? He'd been all over the world, and he could probably buy his own country, but he called Gotham City home. Hell, even criminals couldn't stay away. The Joker could have fled to some country that had no extradition treaty with the US and lived happily ever out of reach. But he always went straight back to Gotham City. If he ever actually left, I'm seeing the word and thinking it's a continuation of the sentence, and so it's goofing my read. But he always went straight back to Gotham City, if he ever actually left. And then there was that institution, Arkham Asylum. It had a pretty lurid history. What did Dr. Smith think about that? Dr. Eileen Thibodeau asked one night over drinks after work during a shameless attempt to pump her for information about Batman. Dr. Thibodeau told Dr. Smith she saw Batman as the key to that whole Gotham thing. She thought he had some kind of animal magnetism, maybe from something in the air or water that reacted with his biochemistry. It wasn't such a ridiculous idea. There were metahumans with powers far more unlikely than the ability to fascinate and influence an entire city. Oh, hey buddy, when did you get in here? Come here. You want to say hello to all of the people on YouTube and Twitch? Do you want to tell them hello? Here is the boy. Here is Archer. He is having the best time of his life. Not really, because we have to give him a lot of meds. They've actually got us giving him more meds now than we were already giving him. This is gonna cause more of a cat hair problem for me, but that's okay. He's been having problems with his intestines and stuff, and we've been having to give him laxatives to help him out, and he doesn't like that because we got to do it in a syringe, and it's very intrusive, and so he's not been having the best time. He's actually been spitting a lot of it out, and his face is all kinds of sticky. No matter how much water we put on his face, it just stays sticky. hold on, buddy. You're gonna rip my earplugs out. There you go. Not earplugs, earphones. But he's otherwise, other than the medication issue. Oh God, I'm just getting it all over myself. I might need to like get water on my hands and face real quick. But otherwise, other than the medication issue, he's feeling a lot better now that he doesn't have a bunch of waste backed up inside of him. Give me 1 second. Let me go rinse my face and hands off so that I'm not like actively about to sneeze everywhere. He sheds so much, and I am allergic. You can't take over the stream, buddy. Get out of my chair. Oh, jeez. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. You can sit here, maybe. Now I got hair on my hands again. Ugh. You can sit on my lap, but I'm not gonna pet you, because then you'll just shed on me and make everything a little bit harder. Let me catch up with the chat real quick. Good night. Oh well, good night back to you, interview show. Season 3 on the whole was probably my least favorite season of BTAS, but there were some really good standouts such as Lock Up, The Trial, and Showdown. True, those were all pretty good. Have you seen the new look for Jared Leto's Joker that will be making appearances in the Justice League Snyder Cut? Yeah, I've seen like that blurry image where it's mostly the card. It's intriguing, but Jared Leto's kind of not a guy that I have a lot of love for, so it's hard to get stoked on him. He seems to be like a pretty cruddy dude. Just found out that the podcast that he did a podcast with Milo Yiannopoulos in 2016, which oh no. Y'all notice how the music changed to sentimental when he started talking. The music change was not on me. It just be doing its own thing. But that's a nice. Now I'm scritching him. I told him I wasn't gonna do that. Oh my God, there's just hair. There's just so much hair. It's just I can see it just like floating in my face. We gotta brush you down after this, buddy. Let's see, where were we? Dr. Smith only smiled and said her time in Gotham had been rather uneventful. She'd been part of a family practice, and the most exciting thing she'd ever done was give flu shots to the offspring of the wealthy at Gotham Academy and Prep, only to fill in for the school doctor who had gone down with the flu herself. As for Batman's hypothetical charisma, Dr. Smith had no opinion. In the whole time she'd lived in Gotham City, she had never seen the hometown hero in person, only on the news or patched into funny cat videos on YouTube. Ditto Gotham's most flamboyant supervillains, who certainly seemed to be as crazy as everyone said, media crazy. A lot of them had publicists as well as lawyers. Reality TV had changed the world. Gotham did have its own ambience. Dr. Smith said. How much Batman really had to do with it, however, was debatable. It could have been the other way around. Local historians said the area had always been a different kind of place, sui generis, even before the advent of the leotard. Dr. Thibodeau would have pursued the subject further, but Dr. Smith suddenly had a lot of appointments outside standard office hours and wasn't available for happy hour chit-chat about Gotham City. The NYHP received a request from a wealthy businessman returning to New York after many years abroad who wanted a personal physician. No one was surprised when management gave it to Irene Smith. She was already NYHP's fairest fair-haired girl. Okay, so we got a couple things here. I'm thinking that Irene Smith is probably Harley Quinn, right? But it's up in the air for now, so I'll put it as Dr. Irene Smith. And I feel like Thibodeau was mentioned earlier, though I'm not entirely sure. What is Thibodeau's? What was Thibodeau's full name? Where did that go? Dr. Eileen Thibodeau. And we have a couple new locations to mark down. Where were they? I'm pretty sure we got Manhattan and Brooklyn earlier. So that's not a big deal. New York health practitioners. Let's see. I feel like there were a couple other ones. Gotham City, Arkham Asylum. Weren't we talking about Gotham Academy and Prep? So that's a new one for sure. Gotham Academy and Prep. We got YouTube mentioned again. So I'll throw that in the non-canon. And then this chapter is 6 months after chapter 32. Are you Murphy? I don't know. What does that mean? Am I Murphy? What are your thoughts on the Batman 2022 movie? I'm excited to see Robert Pattinson take the character over. I think he will be a good fit. And I am excited to see Batman villains that we haven't seen in film for a while. But I get tired of the dark and gritty version of Batman. And that looks like it's what they're going for in this movie. So I don't know. I don't know if I'll like it or not. But like, I just want a Batman that I can believe, would end up in these fantastical comic book situations with a Mr. Freeze, type character, or a Poison Ivy type character, stuff like that. Like a Batman that would be on the Justice League. Like, it's cool to have him dark and gritty every once in a while, but that's almost every Batman movie we've gotten for so long, and it just betrays a large section of what the character is supposed to be. To only hone in and focus on that. Apparently Chuck's doing comic skater stuff now. I saw something about QAnon too, but I can't verify that. It sucks because I think that he's one of the better 90s writers and hate that he's like that. Oh no. Oh dear, yeah, that's a bummer. Wait, didn't he write one of the Batman and Spawn crossovers? Because I think maybe that's what I've read of his, because I've got one of those on my shelf. Let's see. A car service took Dr. Smith to the Battery Park Esplanade, where there was a motorboat waiting at a slip to take her out to a yacht. We've got a ways to go, said the woman who helped her on board with her large medical case. I suggested picking you up at the pier in South Brooklyn, but the boss wouldn't hear of it. I don't know what he's got against Brooklyn. Dr. Smith smiled as she settled down on a cushioned seat. You know what they say, the rich are different. Ain't they just, the woman said. I hope you don't get seasick. Not at all, Dr. Smith assured her. I could live at sea. Good thing, the woman said, stuffing her curly brown hair into a woolen watch cap. From what I understand, you'll be doing just that for a while. A couple weeks at least, maybe more. Comfy? Dr. Smith nodded. And I went before I left. Laughing, the woman nodded at a man on the slip to cast off. He tossed the rope to her, and she coiled it and stuffed it under the seat in the stern before she started the motor and steered the boat out toward open water. Dr. Irene Smith took her tablet out of her bag and brought up the notes on her new patient. The combination of motor noise and wind made conversation impossible, and she was pleased that her aquatic chauffeur didn't feel the need to try. She wanted to use the time to collect her thoughts before she met her eccentric Brooklyn-averse patient. She'd been told she'd be arriving in the middle of the patient's welcome home party, which had made the news days ahead of time as the party of the year. Anyone who was anyone would be there, and if you didn't get an invitation, you were officially no one. Some claimed to have seen the guest list and said it was a mix of the usual suspects. Denzel, Kristen, Carrie Ann, Keanu, Dwayne, Swoozie, and Pedro, along with some unusual suspects who were so important no one knew who they were. There were also a few senators, but no congressmen, 2 or 3 governors, and some representatives of the Mothers and Fathers Italian Association, all of them law-abiding children of law-abiding immigrants who had come to the U.S. with nothing and made a fortune via hard work and ambition. Dr. Irene Smith had never been to such a fancy shindig, nor had her alter ego, Harley Quinn. Yep, I knew it was her. Bum bum bum. But neither persona felt particularly intimidated. A party was a party was a party, Harley figured it was too much to hope that the bar would be extensive enough to include grape soda. They'd probably have Orange Crush and Dr. Brown's celery soda, and all the fixings for egg creams, so so the guests could feel like they were having a taste of New York back in the day. All right, so we got a couple things here. I think the first thing came before the last page, right? Yeah. Battery Park Esplanade is a place. So let's pop that bad boy in here. And I believe that was all on that section. But then we got all of these names, which I'm going to assume mostly are real life celebrities, just because I know some of those names. So I'm gonna put last names where I know. Denzel, I assume, is Washington. I don't know who Kristen could be. Or Carrie Ann. Keanu, I'm, pretty sure that's gonna be Keanu Reeves. Dwayne, I assume The Rock Johnson. Swoozie and Pedro also escaped me. I know, like, maybe Pedro Pascal, but I feel like that's a more recent name to like be high profile than 2018. So I'm not sure. Hello, Maddie, big fan from Brazil. Well, hey, Carlos, thanks for enjoying what we do. Maybe, I'm not sure. My only experience with Spawn is the first half of the animated series. Fair enough. Yeah, Spawn is much more niche than most things, especially if you weren't around for the boom of it in the 90s. Dwayne, does that mean that WWE is canon in the DCAU? Right? That's what I'm thinking. Kristen Stewart? I don't think so. It's spelled with a Y. We could certainly Google these names and see if maybe there are some kind of Kristen Ritter, maybe. Kristen Ritter comes up a lot. We got Kristen Ritter, American actress, Kristen Ritter, Breaking Bad, Kristen Ritter, husband, Kristen Ritter, height, Kristen Ritter, net worth, Kristen Ritter, Gilmore Girls, Kristen Ritter, Jessica Jones, Kristen Ritter, Gossip Girl. So maybe that's Kristen Ritter. I'm just gonna put a question mark there. Carrie Ann. Who could Carrie Ann be? Christian Bale. Christian isn't one of the names. It's specifically Kristen. Unless you're making a little funny haha. If that's the case, then I did not pick up on that. Carrie Ann, I guess, is Carrie Ann Moss from the Matrix, I guess. Who is... Okay, I could see that, especially since they said Keanu. That makes sense. Oh, and she was in Jessica Jones as well, so that's got to be Kristen Ritter that they were talking about. She's like the link between Kristen and Keanu. I'm taking the question mark off Ritter. That seals the deal for me. And since she's right in between Kristen and Keanu, I'm definitely going to say that was her. I loved her in Jessica Jones. She was my favorite character. Now, who the hell are Swoozie and Pedro? Swoozie Kurtz, maybe? The Rock versus the Wildcat would be a treat to see. I'd be so down for that. Which DC comics are you reading right now? I am not... Swoozie Kurtz, yeah. God, I don't remember what I know her from. But yes, I know her. So she makes sense to me. Mike and Molly sisters, Call Me Kat, Dangerous Liaisons. So I mean, if you're asking like what comics I'm reading like in my spare time, I'm not doing a lot of reading recently. I'm more so trying to catch up on TV shows that I have been neglecting over time. But I if you're asking specifically about what we're reading here on stream, we're reading the 2018 novelization of Mad Love. So Pedro Pascal and Pedro Rivera are both actors. Who is Pedro Pascal is the one that I know better. But I feel like he's a more recent like upstart kind of situation. I could be completely wrong, and I could have known Pedro Pascal for years before like Mandalorian and stuff like that, and just not realized it. I suppose that's possible. He was on Game of Thrones and Kingsman. I'll put a question mark. I'll put Pedro Pascal and a question mark. Let's see. Ignore the fact that Ted's a boxer for the sake of this scenario. True. For a second, when you said ignore the fact that Ted, I was just like thinking Ted Kendrick. Our Ted. I always wonder if somehow she's related to John Ritter, but I don't think so. Any thoughts on Justice Society World War II? I've shared my thoughts earlier. I'm really interested in seeing the movie, seeing what's going on. Obviously, I think the two big fan theories right now are that it's maybe connected to Superman, Man of Tomorrow, and perhaps that Flash is connected to the Flash from the end of Apocalypse War, which they both seem like they would make sense. But like that Flash costume is changed up a bit, and they got a new voice actor, so I don't know if that's actually what they're going for. But there's not much to say either way about whether or not it connects to Man of Tomorrow. We'll just have to wait and see. Let's see. There was another thing or two. Orange Crush and Dr. Brown's Celery Soda. I'm gonna put those as objects because they're brands. Orange Crush and Dr. Brown's Celery Water. I know Legacies of the DCAU is a James and Ted thing, but when will issue 10 come out? We've got 2 issues coming up really soon. I do not know a release date. You will get an official release date when they are ready to supply it, and it ain't gonna come from me. But I do have input in Legacies as well. The first of these 2 issues is actually one that I had a heavy hand in kind of plotting a couple beats for it. More so character suggestions, but then those character suggestions really went to inform the story that's being told. So I'm waiting and excited to see it just as much as you all are. But yeah, from what I understand, those 2 issues will be soon, hopefully within a month from each other. But it's not 100% confirmed either way. We've just had two different artists working on them, so simultaneously. So luckily, it's just kind of lined up that they're finishing up their pages and all that at roughly the same time. Ted Kendrick is also an 80-year-old boxer in a fursuit. True. I did mean in general, but anyway, which shows were you watching? So right now we're doing a Ben 10 marathon because I had never watched more than like a couple episodes of Ultimate Alien or Alien Force or something like that. So we started with the original series. We just got into season 4 last night, but we've also been going back and forth with My Name Is Earl. We just finished the first season of that. Before that, we were doing Steven Universe and Steven Universe Future, both phenomenal shows. Like probably some of my favorite cartoons of all time. They really did a lot more with the medium than I was anticipating, and just brilliant from top to bottom. Before that, we did Series of Unfortunate Events, and I think there was another thing that we did that I'm not remembering. And then before that, we did like an entire go through of the Dragon Ball canon: Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z Kai, Dragon Ball Super, and Dragon Ball GT. GSA could tie those universes together. I still remember how shocked I was when Hell to Pay tied into Flashpoint. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Have you seen Stargirl, the TV show that is? Yeah, I watched the first season of Stargirl. I thought it was a lot of fun. There were some episodes where I was kind of zoning. But my favorite DC Universe show so far has been Doom Patrol. You guys are watching Ben 10 at the perfect time for me because the Ink Tank is reviewing each episode of Ben 10, so I have a refresher of the series. Hell yeah! We're actually talking with some of those folks right now on a collab. Kind of going through Dwayne McDuffie's life. I've got like a document full of notes that's usually the same size as what a typical Watchtower database script would be. So I've got to try to figure out how to kind of condense it and really get to the best parts and the meat of all of it. And that's without even like having looked into the Ben 10 side of his life yet, because A, I don't want to spoil myself, and B, that's part of why it's a collab with the Ink Tank. They're grabbing those notes. But anyway, back into the book. Dr. Irene Smith, MD, had appeared right after Harleen Quinzel had disappeared following her discharge from Arkham Asylum. Dr. Joan Leland herself had pronounced her sane and healthy, and yet, scant minutes before Quinzel was supposed to have entered a halfway house to begin the next stage of her recovery, she had encountered the criminal who had abused her and ruined her life. The sight of him in a ghastly purple limo... Oh, you can't go up there, buddy. You're gonna wreck some wires. The sight of him in a ghastly purple limo had obviously triggered violent emotions. Quinzel had jacked the car and driven off without him. Not that the Joker had pressed charges. Harleen Quinzel, aka Harley Quinn, vanished and became a folk hero, legend, and role model to aspiring young female criminals everywhere. The days when the best a girl could hope for was being a gun mole or some maid guy's goomer were definitely over. Poison Ivy's assertion that they should already have learned this from her never got any play on network news. Dr. Irene Smith was perfect in every way. She did nothing to attract attention to herself or to make anyone ask questions. But as a doctor, she could access all sorts of sensitive information. Hospitals were teeming with it. All she had to do was put on a white coat and hang a stethoscope around her neck, and she was practically invisible and free to do as she liked. The Joker's greatest desire was to be seen by everyone everywhere all the time, but he was totally clueless. He never understood that you were most powerful when you went unnoticed. What would Dr. Leland have made of that? She might have agreed, but it was more likely she'd have asked Harley, what did power mean to her? Why was it so important, and did it really have to be? Which was missing the point, but Dr. Leland wasn't a criminal. Batman would get it though. He was a criminal, walking the fine line between fame and obscurity. In all the years, decades, he'd been Gotham City's favorite outlaw hero. He had become a household name without ever being doxxed. To Harley, that was super solid proof he was super rich. For a while, she thought he might be several super rich guys taking turns in the costume. But even if a group of men could have maintained the persona so consistently, Harley doubted they could have kept such a big secret for so long. No matter how rich or well paid they might have been, money was never enough. Harley was pretty sure that sooner or later, one of them would have gotten drunk in a bar and said, "Yeah, I'm Batman, baby. Wanna ride in my Batmobile?" Either way, it was crazy. And in Harley Quinn's professional opinion, as an expert in human craziness, the Joker and Batman were two sides of the same crazy coin. Someday they would finally get a room and they'd never come out. What would become of Gotham City then? Harley didn't know and didn't care. So that just said Batman's been... Oh, excuse me. I told y'all that cat fur is gonna get to me. So that that chapter said that that Batman's been operating for decades. So that's something to put in the timeline notes. And I guess also in the non-canon notes, just on account of the fact that Harley was around in BTAS and Batman started about 10 years before BTAS. So not decades, but single decade. Oh, for some reason, Dani has been, there I go, I gotta show the messages. Let's see. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, right? Yeah, we did watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, though that wasn't quite as recently. We've gone through so many shows since the pandemic started. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, The Good Place, Looking for Alaska are all on there. Keeping Up with Bob's Burgers and Archer, the TV show that my kitty's named after. So, it's been a lot. God, that note about Dwayne's experiences with the cops that you shared on Twitter and Charlotte's response to it got me to tear up. It's all so fucked. Yeah. Let me tell you that, I've going even more into his life and everything. There's a lot of stuff about his surgery and complications and stuff like that. And apparently, I didn't realize that complications during surgery is apparently how he died. Like, I knew it was a medical situation, but like I didn't know it was that. And knowing in retrospect the fear he had about the cops because of his surgeries, like it makes it all feel so much more tragic. The guy literally passed away like 3 days, or like, no, the day before the All-Star Superman movie that he wrote hit shelves. And like, going through all this, like I'm reading interviews and watching interviews that he did like 3 days before his death, and like you would never know, like had you been there in the moment that like that was soon to be the end. But apparently there had also been issues of longevity in the lifespans of the males in his family. Apparently his dad died pretty early on. He had a brother that died like when he was months old, and his other brother died like literally 2 months before him. And it's so sad and tragic just thinking about that and thinking about his mom and everything. I watched the documentary that they did on him, a League of One, I believe is what it's called. That was on the Justice League Doom bonus features, and if you haven't seen that, I definitely recommend it. It's I mean, you know, Justice League Doom is the last movie that he wrote, and so whenever they were doing the bonus features for that, like the entire situation was still fresh on everyone. And you can like, throughout all the digging I've done, like I got so much more information from all these other sources before even watching the documentary. But like, seeing that information contextualized by people that knew him personally and were part of his life, it made it even more heartbreaking. Like seeing them talk about it, like when it was all so recent and so raw, just like oof. I don't know that I could have eulogized someone I was that close to on film for a DVD bonus feature. You know, not that quickly, but like you can see in that documentary, like whenever the camera is on Jim Krieg, like the man's eyes are just so red and watered because like obviously he had been crying going into it. And it's just all a terribly sad story. And I'm hoping to write the video in a more hopeful manner, rather than focusing on how much of a downer it is, and trying to bring the conclusion around to like how Dwayne still kind of lives on through all of the people that he influenced and everything. I don't know why, but talking about it is getting me kind of choked up. So I'm gonna just go ahead into chapter 34. Me and Sirius watched it together during the second fandom thing, and we were both so invested in it. It's a brilliant tribute to him and his legacy. Yeah, absolutely. It's so worth watching. For those of you who haven't seen it, the fact that he died on his own goddamn birthday in particular always stuck with me. Like, how tragic is it? I think it was like the day before his birthday, if I'm remembering correctly, but it might have been like actually on his birthday. Due to like time zone situations and stuff like that. I'm not too exactly sure, but I remember it being like the day before his birthday. But yeah, that whole thing just fucking sucks. But yeah, let me instead of getting on a downer note, Let me get back into the book, and save the rest of that conversation for the video. So chapter 34. The motorboat caught up with the yacht under the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, just east of the Rockaway Ferry. Passengers rushed to the side facing the yacht, elbowing each other and the paparazzi. The latter would have been tipped off by someone on the yacht owner's staff. Tomorrow, the web would be full of telephoto shots of famous people dancing badly. There was no point in throwing a fancy party without any little people to gaze longingly at what was out of their reach. Two men in tuxedos helped Harley board the yacht from the stern. Their shoulder holsters bulged slightly under their jackets. The idea was to discourage misbehavior without being too obvious. Harley chuckled inwardly. When you knew the risks, you wondered why they weren't obvious. Hold on. Oh my god, when you knew the tricks, you wondered why they weren't obvious to everyone. I'm glad you could join us, Dr. Smith, one of the men said. I'm Thomas, Mr. Dell's executive assistant. My compliments on your choice of footwear. He looked down at her non-slip white canvas boat shoes. Have you spent much time on the water? Only in quantities small enough to fit in a glass with ice cube, she replied. Thomas laughed politely. Mr. Dell is waiting for you on the upper deck. Follow me. Joseph will take your medical bag for you. They went up two ladders, passing the DJ on the middle deck. He nodded at them, grinning from ear to ear as he hovered over his equipment. Harley nodded back, amused. He probably thought this was the gig of a lifetime. He had no idea. Are you sure this is a yacht? Harley asked Thomas as they reached the top deck and entered an enclosed area. It seems more like a scaled-down cruise ship. Actually, my dear, it's a mega yacht, said an elderly man in a reclining chair. Or so I've been told. It doesn't sound like an official classification to me. Young people these days, they're all mega this and mega that. Two more men in tuxedos stood behind him, their faces expressionless, as their boss touched a button on a control in his hand, and the chair cushion rose, standing him up on his feet. So lovely to meet you, Dr. Smith. He took her hand and kissed it. I'm glad you're able to join the party. The years had not been kind to him. It took all of Harley's self-control not to wipe her hand on her trousers. When she smiled, the old man looked like a slightly more human version of Killer Croc. She hadn't noticed that the last time she'd seen him, but he hadn't been smiling at the time. Not to be a party pooper, but I'd like to examine you. Nothing too extensive or invasive, Harley added as the old man's expression turned apprehensive. Just get your vitals, ask a few questions, a quick and dirty once-over. He was grinning again as the chair lowered him back down to a sitting position. No doubt he had an endless supply of plain doctor jokes he couldn't wait to use. So, if you executive assistant types wouldn't mind giving us some privacy, Harvey. Oh, frick! I got a cat hair in my throat. Oi. Let's see. Let's see, where was I? Harley added, the old man's expression turned apprehensive. Okay, just get your vitals, ask a few questions, a quick and dirty once over. He was grinning again as the chair lowered him back down to a sitting position. No doubt he had an endless supply of plain doctor jokes he couldn't wait to use. So, if you executive assistant types wouldn't mind giving us some privacy, Harley said, looking from Thomas to the other men. No one moved. Sorry, my dear, Mr. Dell sighed, but it's no use trying to get me alone. They won't let me out of their sight. Garbo would die of frustration. Thomas appeared to be the only one with the ability to change expression. He looked politely puzzled. I want to be alone, Harley said, mimicking Greta Garbo. Thomas only looked more bewildered. Harley turned to the old man. Young people these days. He threw back his head and laughed himself into a coughing fit. Oh, my dear, he panted when he could speak. I love beautiful young women who don't need references older than last week explained to them. What did you say your first name is? Doctor, Harley said cheerfully, which set him off again. She already had her stethoscope out and was undoing the buttons of his shirt. His cough sounded like textbook congestive heart failure. No doubt a doctor had already told him that. Harley imagined his response had been to order a 32-ounce prime rib and sprinkle an inch of salt on it before popping some Viagra. Please try to be a little quieter, she said after a bit. I need to hear if your heart's still beating. Oh, I'm pretty sure it is, now that you're here, my dear doctor, he chuckled. Harley's hackles went up. She covered it with a 500-watt smile. Your pacemaker isn't set on disco, is it? More laughter. Harley had to wait to listen to his chest. Then she took his blood pressure with a wrist cuff instead of the more accurate upper arm wrap. He wouldn't have to worry about his blood pressure for much longer. Harley took 3 readings, then turned to Thomas. Are you sure your assistants can't wait outside till we're done here? She asked him. The numbers I'm getting here are dangerously high. This usually happens when there are too many people in the room. The patient's attention is all over the place, and it's impossible to get an accurate reading. Thomas looked slightly apologetic. Mr. Dell's safety has to be our primary concern. A man as successful as he is has a lot of enemies. And one of them is high blood pressure, the silent killer, Harley said impatiently. It's like this. I'm going to take his blood pressure again, and if I get numbers as high as before, I'll call the air ambulance for emergency transport to the nearest urgent care facility. From here, that would be the new clinic at Norton Point. Threatening him with Brooklyn finally did the trick. The old man gestured at the men and growled, Get out! But Mr. Dell, said Thomas. I'd be a sitting duck in Norton Point, he said in a low, dangerous voice. If that happens, you're all fired, and you won't like your severance. Harley made her face assume the same expressionless look the men wore as they left. She wondered if they noticed the resemblance. Probably not. They didn't look like detail guys. Alone at last, the old man practically licked his chops. Now, what did you have in mind, my dear? First, let's get you nice and comfy, Harley said, slipping the chair control out of his hand and reclining the chair fully. He wasn't lying as flat as on a proper examination table, but this was good enough. I need you to relax before I take your blood pressure again. You wouldn't really send me to North Point, would you? He sounded playful, but Harley heard a plaintive undertone. Poor baby. I'd only want to make sure you got to the closest facility. Harley moved behind the chair and began gently massaging his temples. But never mind, try to relax now. That feels so good, he sighed. Would you mind doing that just a bit longer? Not at all, she purred, keeping her touch gentle. We need to get that blood pressure down out of the stratosphere. I think you're just what the doctor ordered, the old crocodile chuckled. The doctor ordered. Good one, she sneered. He didn't notice. You know, I've been doing business for a very long time, he went on. When I started out, you probably weren't even a twinkle in your father's eye. Harley made herself go on, rubbing his temples instead of stabbing her fingers into them. I've still got plenty of deals left to make, he said, but I find now I'm in need of a personal physician to help me through the day, and my days can be pretty long. I won't bore you with the details. Oh, I know all about your monkey business, Mr. Del Vecchio. Oh, shit! Oh, shit! Oh, fuck! Oh, fuck, I wasn't expecting that. It wasn't even registering to me. Oh my god. Oh my god, fuck. for those of you who weren't here from the get-go, when Harley was a child, her dad fucked over this group of gangsters and thugs on a nightclub heist, and as retaliation, they like got really fucking close to kidnapping her and selling her off into sex trafficking. And the guy behind it all was Del Vecchio. And like she definitely like that night was the first night that Harley used her fucking mallet and like ended up beating the shit out of those dudes. But goddamn, they are ending this story with her murdering him, and I love it. Oh my god. Like, I really hope that she goes through and just kills this man. I am so excited. Ow! Ow! Oof. Excuse me. Ow. I know how I was saying that my tongue is big earlier? I ended up biting it during that sneeze. It just got in the way of my teeth. I hate it. But oh my god. This is like a great way to tie up this book, and I'm so happy about it. Do I know what the next book will be? I do not. If you follow us on Twitter, I might put a poll up. If not, I might just look at the shelf and see what speaks to me. I have a couple books that are like Batman the Animated Series era tie-in books, where they took the plots of multiple episodes and stitched them together as a singular story, and I'm really interested in those, so it might be one of those ones. Is Harley a doctor? I know she was a psychologist, but I didn't know she was a full doctor. I mean, she definitely went to school for psychology and stuff, but yeah, the whole like transferring that into being like a medical practitioner is kind of interesting. I like the new detail. Yeah, it's Jesus. This is great. I have been wanting like closure on that this whole time, and to be getting it is just mwah. I didn't expect it. I kind of expected the story to end where the show and the comic ends, and then we got four more not paragraphs, but four more chapters, and I didn't know what to expect, but like that they're bringing this back and hopefully just destroying this man for good. I'm so down with this. Oi. Okay, let's start that paragraph over, because I just stopped out of excitement. Oh, I know all about your monkey business, Mr. Del Vecchio. The tough Brooklyn cookie crashed the party. Harley vaulted over the chair and landed astride his chest. How you doing? Remember me? She asked as he stared up at her dumbfounded. Harleen Quinzel of the Brooklyn Quinzels. You tried to sell me to one of your pervert friends. Ring any bells now? She squeezed his torso between her knees, hard enough to make him gasp. Del Vecchio fumbled at the arm of the chair. Harley knocked his hand away, lifted the panel on the arm, and found the pistol he'd been going for, just in time to shoot his assistants as they came back in. Even without the silencer, she doubted anyone could have heard anything over the music, which wasn't disco but breakbeat. She'd always loved breakbeat. The Joker had hated it, but he'd hated all music. Del Vecchio tried to grab at her, but he was too feeble to do anything more than annoy her. Still, straddling his chest, she hit his solar plexus with the heel of her free hand, knocking the wind out of him. Harley said. Finders keepers. She wrinkled her nose cutely at him. Know what else I found? This nice big boat, and I'm keeping that too. She climbed off him, took him by the front of his shirt, and yanked him out of the chair. He stumbled, but she held him up easily as she dragged him outside to the part of the deck overlooking the party below. "But just to show you I ain't mean," she said, "I'm gonna let you swim home. That's gonna be quite a ways since you got something against Brooklyn. I would too if I tried to sell sweet little Quinzel girls from round the way to a Poivot. So I guess you better get started." Delvecchio cringed in terror as she dragged him around to the sides, directly over the water, so he could see all the foam churned up by the engines. "Bon voyage, Mr. Delvecchio, and don't get caught!" Harley pitched him over the railing, and the engine propellers under the... that's a quote. "And don't get caught, and the engine propellers under the foam turned red. Oops!" She wiped the gun off and tossed it after him. Harley went back inside, stepping over the assistants' bodies and removed several components from her medical bag. It didn't take her long to put them together. This was her favorite toy. The Joker had hated it because he was terrible at assembling anything. It was that instant gratification thing. He always wanted stuff to pop into his hand, fully formed and ready to go, which was why he had turned his nose up at the lightest, most portable machine gun ever made. She hadn't. Sticking extra clips in the waistband of her neat trousers, Harley stepped outside again and looked around. She should probably handle the DJ next, she thought, and slung the machine gun over her shoulder to climb down to the next deck. "Turn it off!" she'd shouted. He shook his head, putting a hand to his ear. Harley mimed turning a knob. "Off!" The DJ gave her an incredulous look. "Say what, baby?" Harley shrugged. "I tried," she said, and killed his equipment with the machine gun. The DJ screamed and backed away. "Don't call me baby," she said, and motioned toward the rail with the gun's still smoking muzzle. "Now, swim home." He went over the side without another word. Harley turned to look at the rest of the partygoers, who were gaping up at her with shocked, terrified faces. None of them looked like they could have been named Denzel, Keanu, or Swoozie. "From where we are right now," Harley announced loudly, "you can swim to Coney Island and get some Nathan's hot dogs, so everyone who wants to survive this party should jump right now. And anyone who doesn't..." She fired into the air. The screams were louder than the music had been, but the boat was clear in barely a minute. "Okay," she said aloud, slinging the machine gun over her shoulder again. "Now, where's the steering wheel on this thing?" In fact, she had looked up information on the yacht ahead of time. The control room, or bridge, or whatever they called it, was rightly where the map had said it would be. The radio crackled suddenly. "This is the Coast Guard calling recreational vessel King's Throne. We have received calls of an emergency and people in the water. Please advise. Over." "It's all good in the hood, CG," Harley replied. "Bunch of folks decided they wanted to go night swimming. You know, rich people, they're different. Pick 'em up if you want. It's no skin off my nose. Over." Who am I speaking with?" asked a different male voice. "Please identify yourself. Over." "Oh, sure," Harley said. "I'm none of your business. Stay out of my way," Harley said cheerfully. "Maybe a hoid of me. Over." "Is this Harley Quinn, the Joker's girlfriend?" demanded the man on the radio. "Respond immediately. Over." "Hey, pal, I ain't nobody's girlfriend," Harley informed him. "Now step off or get stepped on." That didn't really work when you weren't on land, she thought, but what the hell. "Over and out. You're making a big mistake." Harley snapped off the radio. Sooner or later, they always started with the "you're making a big mistake" routine. Maybe she was, but if so, it wasn't one she'd already made. She changed course and put the lights of Coney Island behind her. And that's the end of the book. Damn, that was a fucking fantastic way to finish this. Oh my god. There were a lot of things that I wanted to take notes on, but there were no page breaks, so we gotta scroll back. Damn, I was watching this. The Joker changed Tim Drake, but Tim killed him in the end. True. Sorry I wasn't in the stream earlier. I really hope I haven't missed too much. I mean, we just finished the book, so you know, you missed that. But the archive will be up and available on the second channel, Pod Tower Database. So if you want to go back and witness the end of the book, definitely be on the lookout for it over there. Oh, geez, man, this was a long chapter. It's gonna be difficult to remember. I mean, it wasn't a long chapter, but like just without the page breaks, it's gonna be difficult to remember all of the things I need to take notes on. But I'm gonna try. But what if he wants to get stepped on, Harley? True. Just reminded me of the Kingdom Hearts 3 reveal trailer with that Pro ZD did the thing on the I want Aqua to step on me. So the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, just east of the Rockaway Ferry. Archer decided he wanted to jump up on the situation, so he's like currently nestled just right behind my computer, and I'm terrified that he's gonna bust everything. I'm gonna get a picture of this and I'll share it in the Discord after the fact. But hopefully he does not end up wrecking the stream. He looks so comfortable where he is, because he's just he's really just nestled into like a cozy little situation. Did you want some attention, buddy? Is that why you're here? Let's see. Rockaway Ferry. He said, Daddy, you wouldn't pet me when I was on your lap. What if I'm right in front of you? You have to. Let's see. We got Thomas and Joseph as characters. Get back off the camera and have a chat up, just in case anything else comes through. So let's see, we got Thomas and Joseph as characters. I don't think there were really any timeline or canonicity things, so that's helpful, because now I just have to look at like stuff that's capitalized. What was Greta Garbo, which I assume is a pop culture reference, but also a person. I know that name, but like I don't remember why. So let me see. American Swedish actress. Okay, so she was definitely in some old-timey movies. 50 Shades of Harley. Brilliant. Let's see. I want to be alone. So that's probably just how she talked. I don't know if it would be specific to a movie she was in. Archer, your tail got in the way and scrolled much further than I wanted to go. Let's see. I think the Greta Garbo was, I think, yeah, this page. Let's see, we got Viagra, which is a brand, so I'm gonna put that in objects. And Greta Garbo, I'll put mentioned, right, because she's not actually there. And then let's see, we've got see, please try to be a little quieter, yada yada yada. Mr. Dell. Norton Point. That's another location. Wouldn't 50 Shades of J be a better fit? Oh no. I don't need Joker smut in my life. Like, the Joker doesn't even register to me as a person, like other Batman villains do. Like, I know he's human, but like it just does not register just because of like the way he looks. And so thinking of Joker smut is a bit more than like I want to even try to process. And let's see. She called it Norton Point, but then he called it North Point. So I know they're the same place. So let me just put dash as like an AKA kind of situation. Poor baby. Let's see. His personal physician, Del Vecchio, is I was gonna put Mr. Del as a character, but come to find out, it's Del Vecchio. I could put. Let me put. I'll put Mr. Del, and put Del Vecchio's undercover name, I guess. Are Justice League Doom and Justice League Action canon? No, I would not say that they are. I don't think there's anything about either of those that like even signifies that as being a possibility. I do know that like some writers on Justice League Action apparently did try to change up a couple details here and there to like in early episodes to kind of match DCAU canon, because like nobody said that it wasn't DCAU. So they were like, let's try to edit some things to make it kind of work. But like as the show goes on, like there's absolutely no way it can fit. Let's see, and there's the boat. It's been much longer since I've watched Justice League Doom, so like I can't give a definitive about like why it wouldn't be canon. But just the fact that they don't even use the same art design, I feel like should be an indicator that it wasn't intended to be. Let's see, we got Brooklyn, we got let's see, we've got Coney Island earlier, we had Nathan's Hot Dogs earlier. So the Coast Guard and King's Throne. Coast Guard I'll put as they're an entity, so I'll put them as characters. Coast Guard, and then King's Throne is the name of the yacht. So we'll put that there. And I think that's all the notes. I think that is all of the notes. We can go through the acknowledgments and stuff as well, just because that'll be, a fun thing to do. We need to see the Joker's old juices. No, I will. No. I do not ever want to see that. In that case, avoid Harleen. There's a good amount of sexy Joker in that book that's implied to be a result of Harley's warped, unreliable perspective on her past. I don't know, like I don't want to like discount an entire piece of media just based off of like it being weird in my mind to conceptualize Joker as a human person. Because he just feels like this otherworldly force, and so any like attempt to humanize him just kind of just like bounces off of me, whether it be like him being a little crybaby in secret to Harley, or like, you know, sexy time stuff or anything like that. But like, that's not to say that you can't do a good story with those elements. It just like, it doesn't feel like what I understand the Joker to be, if that makes sense. An interesting fact that many people don't know about that Marvel and DC share the same universe as each other because of TMNT. I would say they share a similar multiverse, but not necessarily the same universe. Let's see. Acknowledgments. Very special thanks to my wonderful son, Robert Finner. We used to watch Batman the Animated Series together when he was a little boy. I had no idea at the time that having fun with my kid would be so advantageous professionally. Thanks also to Steve Saffel for inviting me to the party, and to Ella Chappell, super editor with Nerves of Steel. And to Paul Dini for giving us this very intriguing, very dangerous woman. And always to my husband, the original Chris Fowler, who is the complete and utter opposite of Mr. Wrong. For a second, just seeing the capital W and the NG there, I was thinking that it was going to say Mr. Wing. See, I'm mostly kidding there. I personally adored Harleen and would strongly recommend it. Was that a comic series? I'll have to see if I can find it and give it a go. Let's see. Paul Dini. Mad thanks to Steve Saffel, host, editor, sanity preserver, and mentor on this wonderful journey. A terrific collection of collaborators, including Alan Burnett, Eric Radomski, Bruce Timm, Tom Ruger, Dustin Nguyen, Paul Levitz, and so many others I've been fortunate to work with on Bat-related animation and comics throughout the years. Just about everyone at DC, Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor for Coney Island. And most importantly, to my dearest Misty Lee, my toughest critic, my eternal inspiration, my love forever, Paul Dini. Harleen was an amazing read. Okay, so it is a comic, I assume. About the authors, Paul Dini is an American writer and producer who works in the television and comic book industries. He is best known as a producer and writer for several Warner Bros. Animation and DC Comics animated series, including Tiny Toon Adventures, Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, The New Batman Superman Adventures, Batman Beyond, and Duck Dodgers. Dini went on to write and story edit the popular ABC adventure series Lost. He has written a number of comic books for DC Comics, including Harley Quinn, Superman Peace on Earth, and Dark Knight, A True Batman Story, which if you have not read that, if you have not read Dark Knight, A True Batman Story, I 100% recommend it. It's all about, it's an autobiographical account of Paul Dini's time on Batman the Animated Series, and it is a brilliant read. Pat Gadigan is a science fiction, fantasy, and horror writer, 3-time winner of the Locus Award, twice winner of the Arthur C. Clarke Award, and 1-time winner of the Hugo Award. She wrote the novelization of Alita Battle Angel and a prequel novel to the highly anticipated film Iron City. She also wrote Lost in Space Promised Land, novelizations of 2 episodes of The Twilight Zone, the cellular novelization, and the novelization and sequel to Jason X. Oh fuck, I gotta read those now. I've always wanted to read the Friday the 13th novelizations, but like the Jason X ones like had like further spin-off material, and if that came from the same person who was responsible for this, I definitely want to read it. Just like seeing the ending here with Harley's comeuppance on Del Vecchio, that's absolutely something that's like I would say is probably inspired by her work in horror writing. So I would definitely love to see more of that, because that was for sure my favorite part of this whole book. Let's see. Yeah, Harleen was an excellent book. I support and look forward for Sajik to do Eiley and Selena next like he wanted to. And that's the end. That is Harley Quinn Mad Love. I'll probably look at my shelf in a second to see about posting a poll for the next book on our Twitter. So if you don't follow us on Twitter, you can do that. We are at DCAU Watchtower over there. We're also that's the same at handle for Instagram. If you don't follow us over there. And of course, like I said, the stream archives are going over to Pod Tower database. So if you missed any part of the book and are curious about like what happened at the beginning, why I was so excited to see Del Vecchio get his due here in the end, you can watch all that stuff over on the other channel, Pod Tower database. There's a lot of videos over there currently. But if you go to the playlists, James has them broken down by series, so you'll be able to find the Mad Love stuff really easily. I will be back on Saturday for another timeline stream. We'll go through the next couple issues of Batman Beyond and see if we can try to place them on the timeline. And then on Sunday, a new video's coming out where I sat down with Sissy, my fiance, while we were drunk one night, and we were trying to figure out how well she knew members of the Justice League. It was a very long raw audio. James has said that his first pass on it, I think, narrowed it down from 2 hours and 15 minutes to like an hour and 30 minutes, and I think he's narrowed it down even further since then, so it'll be digestible. He says there's a lot of gold in it, so hopefully that can end up being a fun time for everyone on Sunday, because you know it's nice to do kind of goofy fun stuff like that rather than deep dives every now and then. I know y'all like James's quizzing his wife. I know y'all are into that when those videos come out. So it'll be more of that, but a bunch looser and more alcohol involved. But yeah, so those are the next two things coming up, and I will see you all then. I'm gonna go. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go figure out something to do. I probably need to eat a little something. I had some soup before coming on here, but I'm feeling like it wasn't enough food. But anyway, Archer, tell all of the YouTube and Twitch people goodbye. Tell them goodbye with this hand. This one's for the YouTube people. Goodbye, YouTube. Goodbye. Now tell the Twitch people bye with this hand. Farewell. Farewell, Twitch. It was nice to know you. Can you give them a big meow? Do you want to give them a meow? Oh, no, you want to give me your claws right into my hands. I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. But all right, y'all, take care, and I will see you on Saturday. And some of you I will see in the Discord server shortly. Goodbye.